actually. This is kind of, I'm not used to speaking in front of people. Not that there's a lot of people here, but if I start, just be patient with me. So I'm challenging myself. I'm giving myself new goals to conquer. So, all right. So we're going to just start with this little graphic I have here. There is no such thing as a waste of time. That's a quote from Sunny Don Johnston. How do you guys feel about that thought? What does that make? I mean, do you agree with it? Does it make sense? I see some north and south a little bit. There's no such thing as a waste of time. So basically, if you look into that and you think about it, there's a lot of ways. The way I perceive it, or the way that I kind of like break it down is, you know, sometimes you might be put in a position doing something you don't necessarily want to do. Maybe you're at Camp Berkeley and there's a training exercise and it's a hurry up and wait game. So it's a matter of learning how to prioritize our time and finding those things that we can put into those spaces where we're waiting in line. It might just be that we bring an iPad with us and we're making our to-do list for the weekend, or catching up on emails, you know, and I know all of us kind of do that anyways, but just being prepared for each day. And we're going to talk about how to do that. But so if you put your mind into this frame of mind, I guess, and just realize that there is no waste of time, it can kind of lift your thoughts. It just lifts you to think, okay, how can I execute this so that I get the most efficiency out of it, and then I'm really staying, you know, to my goals and what I want to be doing with my life as well. Because we're put into positions all the time where we don't want to be doing things, but you can tweak it to your benefit if you really want to. So I think if you look at life experience too as opportunities, instead of thinking of it as like roadblocks and things that are stopping you from getting where you want to go, just look at it as an opportunity. Sometimes you might go through relationship issues, for example, or maybe it's a conflict with a coworker, and it kind of just brings the whole mood down. And if you look at it as, okay, this is an opportunity for growth. How can we learn? How can we grow? How can we improve from this situation? And just tackle it in that proactive mindset instead of letting it kind of bring you down. And I guess, I have notes here to keep me on track because I kind of ramble. Not letting your past trip up your present is a big way of looking at time as not being a waste. Sometimes we get caught up in the mistakes that we've made and thinking, oh, I wasted so much time. Maybe it was a relationship once again, or maybe it was a problem within the workplace, training exercises. You're out there and you work your butt off, and then you're like, man, that didn't go out, you know, how I planned it at all, and you might think of it as waste time, but once again, it's not, and look at it as an opportunity for growth, and learn from it. Like, track those things down and learn from it. One example I've had recently, I just closed out a new townhome yesterday, really exciting, but I had to make the decisions on like how I wanted to prioritize my time. Did I want to sit and scrub the old apartment and spend 8 hours in there, like top to bottom, or did I just want to pay somebody? And you got to look at it like, okay, what's my time worth? What am I worth? And we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I think that's huge, knowing your own value and what you're willing to put into things. Is it worth me spending a couple $100 to just be like, I don't have to worry about it, and I'm going to focus on painting my new place and manifesting new great memories. So, all right, we'll start with, hopefully this stays up here for us. Got another quote. I like quotes. Don't waste your time, or time will waste you. That's a song by Muse. What do you guys think about that? Yeah? I see some north and south again. All right, that's good. So I think sometimes we look at time as restriction. Like, I don't have enough time. And if you look at it like that, it's going to be a restriction. You have to kind of, once again, shift your vibration and go, okay, I have an abundance of time. How do I want to use it? So if you let it waste away by getting caught up in Facebook or emails or TV or whatever it might be, whatever your kind of thing is that you get involved in, it will waste you. So it's a matter of being proactive once again. So we have some little tips here. If you want to take notes, feel free. So take time inventory for a week. This is it might seem a little bit stressful because it's kind of the same thing as budgeting. When you're budgeting and they say, write down everything that you spend for a week, and you're like, really? But it's a really good way to take an inventory, right? We've all heard that. You're like, oh my gosh, it sounds like a waste of time. But so taking inventory of your time. So when you get on Facebook, when you get caught up in conversations in the cubicles and stuff, we all do it. And it's okay, it's good, it builds morale and it's a good thing, but it's just a matter of taking inventory of that time and kind of saying, right now I'm focusing on this for this block of time and I'm not going to get caught up in all of the chitter chatter or whatever. And also for me, I'm a single mom, so cooking meals and how much time am I spending grocery shopping? I know sometimes I get caught up in like running to the store for this and running to the store for that, where if I plan better, I could just get it all done on Sunday and I could be ready for the week. Or if I planned my meals a little bit more efficiently, you know, so taking that time inventory, that's kind of what it's helped me do. Also with my job, I've learned that sometimes I just need to close Outlook. I need to just close those extra things that are like popping up. And I don't do it all the time, obviously, I want to be accessible. But there's times when I'm working on a certain project and I say, I just need this hour just to focus. So that time inventory helped me do that, because I realized that some little requests would come up and I immediately felt like I gotta get back to them right now. And realistically, I mean, it depends on your job, but realistically, you probably could take an hour away and just totally immerse yourself. We tend to multitask a lot, and sometimes it's not the best. So it's just kind of learning like where your strengths and weaknesses are. And one of my weaknesses was getting like sidetracked, like ADD style. So I had to like cut that out. Assign time for mission critical tasks. That could be just for you time. It could be like an actual project that you're working on, and you say, Monday and Wednesday and Friday, I'm breaking this project down so that it's not something that you're procrastinating on, and you're just assigning those little time hacks for yourself. And then the great thing about this is, when it's not that time for that mission critical task, you don't worry about it. Like if that thought comes into your head, maybe you jot down a note, an idea comes, and you jot it down, iPad, put it in your phone, whatever it might be. But then you just like release it, and you actually say to yourself, okay, I'm releasing this, I'm like staying in the moment, and I have Wednesday at 10 o'clock booked for that. And that doesn't work for everything, but it can kind of like help you just get those projects broken down a little bit better. Scheduling downtime. I know in my office, like, we eat lunch at our desk, and we work. You know, and it's one of those things that it's just kind of how it is. I don't know if it's a military specific thing. I think it's probably just America across the board. But taking that time, even like you guys have this beautiful area out here, and it might be even after lunch, just taking 10 minutes and going for a walk. And not having your cell phone on you, just like disconnecting and like looking around and breathing in the fresh air, and then you come back to your desk, and that little pep that you get from that can last you for the rest of the afternoon. Plus, you know, get your blood moving, and it's good, it's healthy for you. So I actually have an app on my phone, which you can schedule this through Outlook, however works for you, have a little timer or whatever. I actually schedule at 3 o'clock every day is my like little 15-minute break. And I mean, you have to get it approved and make sure your supervisors are okay with it. Some of you, you know, maybe you can't do that, but look at kind of those ways that you can schedule that downtime. So at 3 o'clock, they know, like, there's a little area, there's like a little lake, it's kind of like a pond, it's kind of weird, but anyways, I work at the Roseville Armory, and I go back there, and I sit on a log, and I close my eyes, and I just breathe. And that's the time of the day for me that I struggle, because I'm like, it's almost 4 o'clock, I'm almost out of here. And so for some reason, that little, like, that time hack for me, getting that peace, it like just boosts my energy. Start your day on the right foot. This is kind of an obvious one, but I know I didn't do it till recently. I actually set my alarm for 15 minutes earlier, and I take 15 minutes for me. Well, 15 minutes seems to be my little magic number, but whatever works for you, it might be 10, it might be 30. I choose to meditate. Some people pray, some people just like drink their morning coffee. Maybe it's taking a chapter and reading a chapter out of that book you've been meaning to read. But I do it, the key is regular. And I have a child, and I'm a single mom, but I find that I have him on a schedule, so I know he wakes up about this time, and sometimes he gets up earlier and whatever, we roll with it. But I schedule that time for me, and for some reason, like, I get in the car even to get into rush hour traffic, and I'm not as like I gotta go, I gotta get him to daycare, I gotta do this, and this. I'm just like kind of in the zone, and during that time, I go through my affirmations and my goals. And I know I'm saying I a lot, but I'm just kind of going off of the experience that I have. If anybody has anything to input, feel free to raise your hand. For me, I'll say, okay, today I have an important meeting. How am I going to prepare for that? And I say things like, I am strong, and I'm a helpful resource for people, and the things that I want people to see in me, I say during that 15 minutes of my morning. And obviously things happen. Sometimes my kid wakes up screaming, and he's peed the bed, and then we just laugh and we move on. So what are you going to do, right? Got to be flexible. So set a goal before each activity. For example, how I use this is if I'm going to make a phone call, or if I'm going into a meeting, or maybe it's an activity with my son, I set a goal, like, okay, out of this meeting, what do I want to get? I feel like sometimes on phone calls especially, it's easy to get sidetracked, and then you start talking about this project, and so I set kind of like the goals for that. And it could be something that you have at home. Maybe it's cleaning out your garage, and you say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna work on my garage for an hour, and then I'm gonna stop. Or my goal is to get these 2 boxes organized and cleaned out. And after when I was moving, I set a goal for each week of, I'm kind of OCD, I don't know, maybe this is a little bit overload, but I set a goal before each week saying, on this week, I'm working on XYZ. I was packing up the extra linens, I was packing up the toys or the winter clothing. And so I set those goals and it broke it down, and then the move didn't seem so ridiculous. And I closed at 3 o'clock yesterday, and I was sleeping in my bed with sheets and blankets and everything set up because I had like done that, and for some reason that breaking it down like that made it less stressful for me. And I moved in, and like I said, I was in my bed, I had my toiletries and everything ready, and it wasn't just like, oh my God, where's the toilet paper, you know, because I already had everything kind of like ready to go. So by setting those goals, and removes a big thing, but that could, like I said, it could be for a phone call or you're meeting with somebody, and also for projects. I find like sometimes, at least where we're at, we get these assignments and we're just like, okay, complete it and move on, complete it and move on. But by sitting there and kind of breaking it down and seeing like, what do we want to get out of this? Not every project, obviously, that'd be overkill, but like certain bigger projects, especially training type things, and especially on the full-time force, sometimes it's easier for me just to do it than to train people to do it. And if you look at it like, this could be a really cool training experience for somebody that's below me, or for somebody, you know, that hasn't done this before. We have an older gentleman that I work with, great guy, but he's not super computer savvy, and it takes time to teach him. But like, look how he grows, and it challenges him. And so the bigger projects where I can involve somebody in, or set a goal that's bigger for the mission as a whole, it's a good thing. Disconnect when necessary, that's cell phones. If you're working on something that's important, or if you're at home having that quiet time, maybe it's dinner, everybody turns off their cell phone. I know when we go out to eat lunch, well, this was in public affairs, everybody had to put their cell phone in the middle of the table. And we had to talk. And that way, if your phone rang and it was something important, or it was, you know, your boss or somebody, you could get it, but it wasn't people sitting on their phones texting. This might not apply to everybody, but I find that sometimes it's like hard just to disconnect. It's crazy. For me, I make myself go out into nature once a week. I should probably do it more, but and I don't take my cell phone, even though I'd like to take it and take a photo and like post it on Facebook and be like, oh look, it's so pretty out here. But I just don't, because it's healthier for me just to disconnect. Same thing with you have a little do not disturb button on your phone. And you can't use it all the time, and like once again, you have to use it with discretion. But sometimes just putting that on there for 30 minutes and then checking your voicemails right after is what you might need to do. So it's something to keep in mind, and all you do is just press the little D&D and bam, too easy. Be forgiving of yourself. So set those goals, but then when you don't make it, like stop and go, okay, that's in the past, I can't control it. How could I move forward? What are my goals now moving forward, and how am I gonna accomplish this better in the future? How am I gonna learn from that? And then let it go. Totally like release it. Don't even let it get in your mind. Once you've learned from it and you move forward, and then have an attitude of gratitude. I think we've all heard this before. I start my day and I end my day with gratitude. And one thing that's helped me is having, might sound kind of silly, but it works for me. I'm a visual person. I have a jar at work and I have one at home. And whenever something cool happens or a good memory, and it might just be you had a conversation with a coworker, or maybe you got some kudos from your boss. I write it down on a piece of paper and I put it in my jar. And I'm like, oh man, I love my job. This is so great. And on the days where I'm really stressed out, or maybe my boss isn't being so complimentary, I can pull out my little kudos and I can pull out those things that like kind of make my heart sing, that give me passion and remind me of like why I'm doing what I'm doing. We all have monotonous things that we have to do throughout the day, and that brings me back down to earth and puts me back in the present moment of like why I'm here. And also, I mean, wearing the uniform, it's more challenging sometimes, especially when, you know, like I said, I have my son and everything, and there's more demands on me. If I was in the civilian world, it wouldn't be like that, like drill weekends and things. But doing that and being like, wow, this job provides XYZ for my son. I have the 30 days leave. I have all this cool things. Keeps me back, like I said, in the present moment. So we'll talk about tools. I'll try and slow down. I'm sorry. I talk really fast. So take advantage of technology. If you're technology savvy, and if you're not, maybe play around with it, and maybe you will become. Maybe you'll see that it does wonders. So I use Wunderlist. It's an app on my phone. It also syncs to my iPad. I can pull it up on my computer, and I actually have tasks broken down. So I have one little kind of like section or category that's just for recruiting and retention battalion. And I have one that's for Operation Synergy. So when I think of something, if I'm standing in the line at the grocery store, or if I'm, you know, maybe at work and something pops in my head like, oh, you make sure that you get XYZ on the way home. I pop it into my little phone and then I set it away and I don't worry about it. And the same thing you can do having that at home on the kitchen counter. You're cooking and you're like, oh yeah, so-and-so needs a new pair of soccer shoes. And then as soon as you put it in there, forget about it. Like, don't sit and stress about it. You're like, it's in my phone. Or maybe you have a journal. I mean, these are all simple things, but I think that using them regularly is what's key, and finding what works for you. Scheduling time for cleanup. This one really helps me. My email, my inbox, like J6 has got to just hate me. Actually, I'm getting better, so now they don't. But my inbox would get just full because I would go and I'd see a task and I'd answer it, and maybe I wanted to keep it for some reason or another, or maybe I just forgot. Maybe I legit read the email and just didn't delete it. So once a week I go through, and that prevents me from getting that block of all that stuff crudding. And it's funny because there's clutter, like in your car, there's clutter in your office, but there's digital clutter. And if your phone is like packed full of voicemails that you haven't deleted, or emails or pictures or whatever, they have online. You can actually take your phone into Target, Bluetooth it, and you can create a CD of your photos and get them off your phone. I mean, it's those things that kind of like help you. Just, I guess scheduling the time for that stuff helps it from like kind of clogging you up. Car, house, everything. Like I'm kind of starting to realize a pattern here. I have a schedule for my cleaning for my house, so the vacuuming happens on a certain day, and obviously it doesn't sometimes schedule dictates differently, but then I don't find myself like all of a sudden going like, oh, I haven't vacuumed, in a couple weeks, this is kind of gross. So it kind of helps me prevent that, and then that helps my stress. Create a task tracker. I have this, it's a board, it's 12 by 12, it's magnetic, it sits up on my desk, and it has like tasks that I've been assigned. And then I made these little, and you could just write it up there with dry erase boards, but I made these little magnets, and they say like, this is in the design process, I'm waiting to hear this is good to go, this needs to be submitted. So whatever, you can find a different way for my workflow, this is what works. So my boss can come over and go, all right, she's doing this, okay, that's in this process, or whatever. Or even the recruiters, we have a lot of customers where I work, and they can all come and see, like, oh, yep, I'm on our tracker, I'm right here. And it might not be necessary for all of you, but for me, and it's also a visual for me. If I get overwhelmed or anything, I can look up there and go, oh, right, this is something that's important to me, or I can move something and prioritize it up. Obviously, we have the lieutenant colonel has a request here, and it's like right on the top, so it's that visual reminder for me, like, oh, I need to follow up on that quote and see if that order's coming through. Oh, and then big projects, breaking them down into smaller projects. This is, once again, this is kind of something that I think is common sense, but I have an app on my iPad, once again, and I can actually break things down and assign dates. So if you break that bigger project down and go, okay, when do I want to accomplish this? And once again, the key is when it's not time for that, let it go. Like if you're not in that scheduled time or in that time to be working on, okay, I have this, part B of my project is due on Friday. All right, it's Monday. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to sit there and let that kind of like bog down my thought process. And it's, once again, it's about lifting your vibration. The whole point, I guess, the whole like importance of all of this and why I do it is I'm happier. I'm living in the moment because I'm not letting all of that like just kind of cloud my thoughts. All right. So, putting yourself first. It sounds maybe contradictory because it's like, well, if I put myself first, how am I going to get all this stuff done? But to love and live fully, you must do that for yourself. You must love yourself, and you must take the time out to do all those little things, scheduling those tasks, and just kind of making that a priority in order to be a better soldier, a better mother, a better father, better brother, sister, whatever it might be. Ask yourself what makes my heart sing. We're getting into the warm fuzzies now. We did all the like logistics and like the army stuff, but now we're going to get into the warm fuzzies. What makes my heart sing? If you ask yourself that every day, so I come into work and I have, today, I took leave yesterday because I closed, on my place and I was moving. I came in and I had like probably 30 emails. Maybe 5 of them were actually important. We get a lot of stuff in our inboxes daily. And so I go through and kind of prioritize, okay, I'm going to get to this, I'm going to do that. But what makes my heart sing? For me, going back to that example of cleaning the townhome, cleaning the old place and getting the person to come in and paying them and deciding, you know what, my time is worth more than that. It's not worth me going and stressing about the oven and the burners and the dryer and all that stuff and all those little details. For me, my time, I want to spend my time doing what makes my heart sing. I want to spend my time with my son. I want to spend my time painting his room. I want to spend my time, I didn't have to take as much leave as I thought I would because I had stuff to do this week, and that makes my heart sing. I love my job. So I wanted to do that and take away that stress of cleaning the old place and just focus on the things that make my heart sing. Change your thoughts, change your reality. I don't know if anybody's heard the term of manifesting your reality. That's what we talked about with lifting your vibration. So if you say to yourself, if you wake up in the morning and you go, oh man, like, I have so much stuff to do, like I just need another me, there's not enough time in the day, like all these things that we probably all said to ourselves, that's what's going to happen. I don't know if you all believe that, but I don't know, it's kind of helped me to think that way. Okay, I have an abundance of time. How do I want to spend it? What's important to me? What's important to my supervisor? And kind of prioritizing those things. Also, it's helped me with not feeling so overwhelmed because you're not going to get it all done. You know, you're only one of you. And the reality is that, we don't know, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, but we know what's going to happen right now. So by keeping ourselves raising that vibration, keeping ourselves, mission focused and going, okay, what needs to happen now? All right, what's priority and what makes my heart sing? I don't know, it just all kind of comes together and it just creates this cool little synergistic effect. And being a human being versus a human doing. The thought process behind that is that sometimes you become a human doing, you go on autopilot, and it's like all of a sudden it's the end of the week. And it's the weekend, and you got a graduation party to go to, and you've got to get groceries, and the house needs work, or the grass needs mowed. How you can prevent that, and by being a human being, is staying in the present. And that comes back to scheduling those things out and managing your time so that you're not so overwhelmed. Putting in that time for yourself in there, putting in that relaxation time, putting in the time with your kids, living in the moment. One of the things, you can look at your week and go, who do I need to connect with this week? Maybe it's your boss, maybe you guys need to sit down and kind of hash some things out. Maybe it's, an uncle you haven't talked to in a while, but you need to, I don't say you need to, but for me, I need to stop being a human doing and stop and go, okay, I'm going to turn my phone off and I'm just going to enjoy this time with my son. I've caught myself being at the park with my son and being on my phone, checking Facebook, and I'm like, stop, put it away. And once again, that may not be everybody's problem, but I've caught myself doing it, or being at Mall of America and he's on the ride and I'm sitting there instead of just soaking in the moment and watching his reaction as he rides the SpongeBob ride or whatever, Also, this is something that I use, it's a warm fuzzy, so beware. This has affirmations of things that I want in my life. So my power is in this moment right now. My career rewards me with freedom and monetary abundance. You could also put, I have plenty of time in my day to accomplish everything that I need to do, or that's important for me at this moment. I am loved fully for who I am. I am a money magnet. Those are things that I say to myself, and it's visual. Maybe not everybody wants to have that, maybe you put it in your cabinet door or whatever. But that's also a part of taking those moments throughout the day, those memories, and kind of, I'm a female, so maybe this is a little bit, but this is what works for me. So on top of all the scheduling and all the OCD stuff, those are the things that make me happy. Here's some questions to ask yourself. What am I going to do today? This is it's basic, but sometimes I don't think we stop to do it. What am I going to do today? So this is kind of like the AR process. What do I need to do today? So what is the priority? Am I ready for my day? That starts with starting your day out with that 15 minutes just to group yourself, just to, like I said, read that chapter in the book, or maybe having a coffee or meditating or praying or whatever it might be that you like to do for just peace and starting your day out. Also, if you come into work and immediately you're bogged down with emails and stuff, and then you have a meeting that you got to prepare for, and you're just all in that mind space, stopping and going, wait, am I ready for this meeting? Let me wait on the emails and then prepare for this meeting. What are my long-term goals? And I encourage people to do this with their supervisors, or with somebody within their office, and sit down and what are my long-term goals? I think sometimes there's that job security that we have wearing this, and it can be easy to let a year go by, and you're oh wait, and you're looking at your NCOER or just talking about completing, and you're what did I do? What did I do? You worked, and you did your best, but setting those goals and kind of conquering and pushing yourself, And keeping track of that stuff so that your supervisor has it is key. And sitting down with them and talking about it, quarterly. Like, what are my goals? What do I want to do? Is there education that I want to get, or some sort of training that I want to go to? Once again, it's simple, but I think it's important to schedule that into your Outlook or whatever it might be, just to make sure that you're doing it. What am I not getting done? And that's probably the one that maybe is kind of stressful, but what am I not getting done? And actually, instead of just ignoring it or, oh, it'll get done, actually making note of it and going, okay, I'm not getting the Cincy OER done. All right, let me throw that on my calendar. I'm going to block some space on Friday at 10 o'clock, and I'm not going to worry about it till then. It's going to get done then. Or whatever that task might be for you. What did I promise someone else I would do today? That's really important, especially in the military. You've got a lot of people. I have a lot of people to answer to. What did I promise someone else? And it might be your child. Maybe you promised that you would go pick up the new soccer shoes. And making sure that you schedule that in instead of letting the day get away from you and then going like, I'm just too tired, or I can't do it, or I have all this stuff to do, and then you start getting into that negative speak again. What will I do to take care of myself today? Another warm fuzzy. But like the 15 minutes at the beginning of the day, the breaks throughout your day, taking the time after lunch to go take the walk and just be. And I feel like sometimes it's good to do that with coworkers. Maybe scheduling. Say, hey, what are you doing on Thursday? Let's bring our lunch and let's go sit outside and eat our lunch and just chit chat. And then you kind of are connecting with people in the office if you feel comfortable doing that, or just going out on your own and doing it. But taking that time for yourself throughout the day will just break it up, and you'll just find that you're a lot more centered and grounded and ready to take things on. And it's contagious. That's the good thing about it. It's like if you kind of put yourself in that space, you'll find other people smiling back at you. It's kind of a cool thing. And I think that's one of the best things that we can do. Just for everybody around us and ourselves, is just to come in with that positive mindset and be like, all right, let's knock out this day. Like, let's do this. Like, let's make it happen. Who do I need to spend some time with today? Once again, that could be the coworker that you're getting lunch with. Maybe somebody's going through a lot of transition in their life, and you're just like, hey, let's grab a bite. Let's talk about it. And the cool thing about that is if you schedule that time, that lunch and everything to go and step away from the office and do it, then you're less likely to sit and do the jibber jabber and the cubicles and stuff and taking time away from when you're supposed to be working. So I found that like scheduling the time, even with our office, we have times we just all go out to lunch and we don't talk about work, and we just kind of connect and talk about what's going on in our lives. And I don't know, it's kind of nice. What did I do today? That's a good thing at the end of the day, being grateful. What did I do today? Man, I went to work and I spoke in front of these people, and I was so nervous, and it went well, and I didn't fall on my face. That was a great thing. I woke up and I'm alive. I painted a wall, whatever it might be. That's my story. But for you, it might maybe you had an important meeting. I think utilizing, going through, like, if you have a long commute, listening to an audiobook. So you can be like, yeah, I got through another chapter of my audiobook this week. Or, you know what? I didn't do it every day, but 3 days this week, I took time for myself before I went to work. I took 10 minutes for 3 days. That's an improvement, and I loved it. Or maybe it's drinking the coffee or whatever it might be, just to kind of and you set those goals, and then you don't break yourself down when you don't, you just keep kind of trying to improve and stepping up. And am I happy with what I did today? There's a lot of warm fuzzies there, so, but am I happy with what I did today? The cool thing about that is if you're not happy, you can change it. So you can say, okay, you know what, I fell a little bit short on my diet goal, or I really wanted to get that PT in, and I kind of let some things get in the way. So how am I going to prevent that from happening in the future? How am I going to move forward? And for me, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but for me, getting PT in might be doing lunges in the hallway after my lunch break or before my lunch break or whatever. And maybe it's not going to the gym and running 2 miles, but it's something, and I'm getting my body moving. And so that's how I gauge my happiness. Like, yeah, I got a little PT in, and I stayed on track, and I improved in these ways. And then you kind of start that day with that gratitude, and then kind of set up things for the next day. Does that all make sense? I think we're to the end. And I didn't even use my notes very much. Look at that. Well, let me just go through them since we have a few minutes. Okay, so talking about raising your vibration, some ways that you can do that, turning on the TV. I don't know, I used to be a TV person, and maybe you have the shows that you really love, but But one thing I ask myself is like, how is this show changing my life? Or how is it, maybe it's changing your life because you're getting downtime. Maybe that TV show is your downtime, which is totally cool, but at least ask yourself the question, because maybe you'll find yourself, I've been there, and found myself going, oh, I don't have enough time, and then I'm like watching 2-hour, Biggest Loser. But if Biggest Loser motivates you and like gets you excited, then great. But if it's just like you're just watching it and you're just tuning out and you're not really doing anything with it, then maybe it's time to find some other ways to use that time. Don't get caught up in cruise control. Setting those team meetings within your workplaces to reassess where you want the organization to go. New ideas, get those new ideas going. That's key. Sometimes when you get into a 3-year little job, tour, you're like, okay, well, I got till 2016, so what do I have to do to get there? Instead, be like, all right, what can we do? What can we do to make, and it might just be, maybe your job is a little monotonous. Maybe it's just that you improve morale because you come in smiling and you ask people how they're doing that day. Or maybe you set up a weekly, maybe bi-weekly, whatever works for your office, time where everybody brings a lunch and you get together and eat lunch together. And that might be your little mark that you make. It doesn't matter. You've heard the story of the janitor, but being like the best janitor that you can be. Being like the best, being like happy and smiling at people and not like, oh, I'm gonna go clean some toilets, like, man, this job like pays for my rent, it pays for my car, and it gets me here and I'm alive and I'm happy to be here. Sometimes false motivation works, do what you gotta do. Be thankful and say thanks for your abundance of time. Just, man, I have so much time. How do I want to use all this time that I have? All right, well, I really need to get this done for my boss. Great, sweet. And same with the weekends, with your free time, like looking at it and scheduling that time with your kids, but then also looking at it and saying, okay, well, the lawn needs to get mowed. All right, great. I'm looking forward to spending my time mowing the lawn. Maybe I'm going to listen to an audiobook while I'm doing that. I don't know, whatever you got to do. Maybe it's good music that you just downloaded or something. So yeah, is there anything like, any questions or anything anybody has to add? Everybody's like, whoa, you just talk a lot. I'm sorry, I tried to slow down. I'm improving every day. So I will put also some of these notes up on Operation Synergy on Facebook. But I think like one of the things that's best to do now is to go forward and go, okay, how can I incorporate all this information she gave me? Okay, maybe it's just downloading this time management app that she suggested. Maybe it's finding out how I want to spend that 15 minutes of time in my morning. And if you can't do it at home, do it, well, with your supervisor's permission. Do it at work. Maybe during your lunch break, you take that 10 minutes for you. And we talked about how little ways that you could do it. But stop making excuses. Don't say, well, my morning, I do this, this, and this. I don't have time to do that. Make the time. You do have the time. Make it. If it's a priority to you, you'll make it. You'll make it happen. So that's all.
Very good, Ron.
Thanks, sir.